I'm moving forward every day, Jesus. I just let him lead the way every second, every minute, every hour of the day. I'm moving with Jesus every day, 24/7. With Jesus every day, 24/7. I'm moving with Jesus. I'm moving with Jesus every day.
Hello, good morning. This is JC 24/7, and I am Gideon St. Bryce, hosting this discussion today based on crime. How does it affect us as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and of course the wider community? I have with me today two distinguished gentlemen. I was counting myself there. And two distinguished gentlemen, one by the name of Derron Sandy, the other by the name of Andre Dillon, better known as Ziggy. They will be helping me this morning in this discussion. As a matter of fact, I'll just be fielding some questions to them, and they will be having the discussion. So we just want to put it out there that neither Derron nor Ziggy really are purporting to be criminologists or psychologists and so on. They are, however, persons who are extremely interested in the fabric of our society, and they are engaged in multiple activities that seek to bring about a resolution to challenges that we face in society. Derron is a professional poet, artist, and Ziggy, Dillon, is the creative director of the Making a Difference company, the Mad Drama Group. Yes. And so we'll be hearing from them. Let's get some opening remarks from Dillon first, and then from Ziggy.
Right. When you see three other people look around and say, well, the Holy Ghost with us, for sure.
Yes, sir. All right, that's it.
For sure. The Holy Spirit with us. I'm morning Trinidad and Tobago, morning to the Caribbean, morning to the TV6 watchers. Crime affects all of us.
Yep.
For the person who walks around thinking that crime does not affect them, I think they live in a bubble, in a real big bubble. Some of us think we are insulated by putting ourselves in expensive cars, or sending our children to private schools, or putting up gates and have checkpoints before. But crime hitting us at all levels, crime hitting us. And I think this discussion is a healthy discussion to have, because if we don't address it, it will continue to spiral out of hand. So I am welcoming this discussion this morning.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think if we have to focus on something in particular, we'd have to focus on the criminals themselves and like what motivates them. A big thing for us in the acting world is motivation. Mm-hmm. Like you always ask the character, what is your motivation? So the actor could more or less channel that character and present it on stage. So I ask myself, all right, what is the motivation for criminals? And I've always been of the belief that people just want to be happy, you know. People just want to be happy. And what are the things, what are the obstacles in the way of their happiness? And what are some things they are willing to do to achieve that happiness? How desperate people are actually going to become when they realize that they're facing certain challenges. So I'd like to look at the criminal and what are the factors that influence them to take on a particular lifestyle.
Okay, quite interesting. Mm-hmm. So we are all affected by crime, mm-hmm. and we are all in pursuit of some level of happiness, mm-hmm. and therefore actions are taken based on how persons think that action will result in this happiness that they're in pursuit of. So tell me, do you think therefore that there is a false narrative in terms of what the measuring rod of success and happiness is, and therefore people are in pursuit of something that is elusive or something that does not exist, or what do you think?
That's a great question, because of course being around youth, you see the influence of social media. And keeping up with the Joneses now exists in that virtual kind of space where everybody wants to be liked or shared, for want of a better word.
Or followed.
Or reposted, you know. And to do that, you need to assimilate yourself with either a traditional kind of lifestyle or something very out of this world that will get people's attention. So, for example, you seeing all your friends going to the latest event or keeping up with a particular trend or being ridiculed. There was this viral ridicule that's going on for a while. What are those for people who are wearing funny shoes or a bag that wasn't a poor brand? Or even recently, when we were practicing for our last show, this 15-year-old girl was laughing at me because I was wearing a jersey with a polo man. It wasn't a polo, it just was a man. It was a different brand. She was killing herself.
Because it was polo.
That. You know, and I imagine, wait, these are some of the things you'd face, and I don't want to be laughed at. I want a polo too. I will do what it takes. You know, if I had a bully George and John throughout the week to make up some money to get a polo, at least to appear wealthy or to appear successful so that people wouldn't laugh at me, then yeah, I'm chasing something. It's a real thing they're chasing, not a false narrative. It's a thing that was created from people's interaction with each other. But sometimes it is elusive, and I think what youth and even adults haven't learned to do is be real with themselves and understand, all right, this is elusive for me, so I do have to measure my success through this vein. Yeah.
Well, that's what I want to get to, from Dillon in terms of who should and how is this measuring of success established? I don't know if you could answer that, but in your experience,
Listen to me. Success is relative, and one needs to appreciate where they are. I was listening to Derron, and Derron brought the pursuit of happiness into the equation, but a driving factor of crime is also greed, and I want us to pay attention to that too. The idea of me being successful have to have some level of contentment with where I am and my position. I cannot always be stretching after the dog and the bone. I'm not school not open here. I'm not too sure if the telling them stories again now, boy. But you have something. You have it already, but because what is out there on social media is it looking so much. You are leaving what you have, your good house that you have, and you're stretching for something that is elusive. And when you do look back, you recognize you lost everything. And that in itself, this cuts you in a way in which you get angry with society, you get angry with your peers, and now it have a venom behind this. Whatever it may take, I will go after. So the idea of being happy, it starts with first and foremost knowing who I am. And I think a lot of our parents, a lot of our teachers, a lot of our elders need to start giving the young people opportunities and space to find out who they are, not superimposing on them what we want them to be.
Yep. So you speaking there, and I'm reminded of a story that I told. You know, if I say it very succinctly, of a young guy who had two brothers, but they were living on the streets, and this well-to-do gentleman kept observing them, anticipating that the guy on the streets will ask him for something. You know, but when he passed, the guy simply tell him, "Good morning, have a good day." You know, he was surprised because why this guy's not asking me for something? So he actually stopped and asked him, "Well, who are you? What are you?" You know, and a nice conversation was carried out. And then in parting, the well-to-do gentleman said to him, "You know, you're such a nice guy. It's a pity you don't have a home." And the guy said, "Oh, we do have a home. We just don't have somewhere to put it yet." You know, because as far as he was concerned, he and his brothers, and they had a home.
Yeah.
And it just brought to me the point of contentment. What is your measuring rod? Now, of course, it's best you have a roof to go under and that kind of thing, but it's just the mindset of this guy on the streets was that we're happy. We have a home.
Comfortable.
We just have a place to put the home. You know? And so some persons in that same situation would use that as an excuse to rob the well-to-do guy.
Wait, not excuse. That I not excuse.
Okay, all right.
That is reason.
That's a reason.
Horrible
Okay.
reason. I don't have. And
Yes.
you have? Come on, man. You mad though. I have to take what you have.
Wonderful. So, but what is the difference then? What is the difference, or how do we feel walking the street and meeting somebody like that? Are we comfortable, passing somebody like that? When I say passing them, I mean, do we fear thinking that there will be some kind of action? How comfortable are you walking the streets, living your life in Trinidad?
He from Maloney.
Nah, Maloney is do a crime, man.
I from Canada, actually.
Maloney do a crime, actually.
And watch me, I personally real comfortable there, and go ahead.
Yeah,
and I go jump in after.
I am comfortable. Very comfortable. Probably to my own detriment. Probably ignorantly so. But I would just go anywhere, even from a very young age. I remember when I was in CIC, still, I used to go St. Paul Street in the night to play basketball, and I walking out of there to City Gate, traveling, man.
Yeah.
How long that was?
That was like 2006.
Right.
Yeah, I was.
You want to go in?
I was never. I will go there now. And play basketball
Even better.
and I will just walk out. Because I don't feel under threat, probably because I know I don't have somebody rob me most again.
It's a jersey without a polo.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right. So probably I don't feel like if I have anything major to defend or anything like that, and if somebody comes to rob me, I give them it and move on with life. But I definitely understand why people will feel a certain way walking. I had a friend on Frederick Street that was robbed like just 2 weeks ago. Some guy just passed, grab her chain and run, and she just stood there in shock, obviously. So yeah, and as Adventists we don't wear jewelry, so that's another thing I don't have to worry about. But yes, definitely a concern for people, because there are young men on the street who want things, and as Ziggy was saying, they see somebody having something and they want it. And while that is a legitimate motivation, the action is, of course, cannot be condoned of taking something that doesn't belong to you. And it of course goes back to satisfaction. I want to say one more thing. A lot of these artists that the young people listening to, these artists are robbing the young people. And I don't mean they're singing the violent lyrics. If they want to sing violent lyrics, that's your story, then go ahead and present it, right? That is another conversation. But what they have failed to present is how hard these artists actually work to sing these violent songs, and how they have to be up all night working, writing, in the studio, reworking things, borrowing money to pay for studio time. And then they just go out to the youth. They present this lifestyle of glamour and richness, and they making their success and pounding a false narrative on top of the youth that, yeah, I just just holding this gun. No, he was actually in a studio behind a mic working very hard, and over. And
when you do leave the country, sometimes you're not staying in a hotel. You're staying by your aunt or your uncle and sleeping on their couch to full some party venue.
So reality not presented.
Yeah, look how Prince Swan, he just signed this deal recently, right? That's a big accomplishment for some ghetto youth, so to speak. So why you don't come back and sing about, this is how I reached this far? It wasn't true. He'll come eventually. All right, I'm waiting. Prince Swan, I'm waiting.
He go come. I have faith in Prince Swan. He going back and touch back in Tranquil and talk about all the things that I have faith.
He better. They have a right to do that. I think they have a right to do that, because then you're leaving these young black men with this false dream, and you worked hard to get what.
So whose obligation is it to present this truth and this reality to our young people?
I like that question. I want to take that question because when Derron was talking, I was thinking that the responsibility, or not necessarily responsibility, the reason why our young people are where they are is because we the older ones have gone off looking for this happiness that Derron is talking about and not taking the time like what our grandparents did and tell us those stories that you brought.
Yeah.
Because the stories that my grandmother and my grandfather would have told me, or my mother would have told me, my father would have told me, would have helped shape the values that I have. What stories are we taking time to find in a community center, to go on a basketball court, to pull 5, 6, 10 young people and sit down and tell them about, we're not doing that. You know what we're doing? You know what we're doing? We're going for our degrees. We're going for our degrees. And our degrees are going to make us happy. And nobody's taking time to nurture these children.
You know, Derron have 2 degrees, right?
Yeah, exactly. You understand? Nobody's not taking time to nurture these children. And what these children are going to see is what is on social media. And what is on social media, the people not coming back to tell their story. So they are going to think, boy, you see that Jordan, boy? He's singing that Jordan. I had to get that Jordan. I had to get that. I had to, and we, this is for the men. For the woman now, you know what's up? She looking that way. I have to look that way too. So my breast, I had to show my breast. I had to pose that kind of way. I had to pout my mouth that kind of way. I must do these things to get the likes. And our grandparents and our parents taught us certain values, but we are not doing the same for the younger ones. And then after we want to point our fingers at them. I want to say this. Once upon a time, Sunday school used to be, church I used to go to 3 o'clock on a Sunday evening. Because Sunday morning service, you go home, you eat, and then you come back and you do Sunday school.
Yeah.
No, we don't have no time for that. Sunday school had to be one time right after church because the rest of the evening, I have to relax.
Yes.
It's our fault.
Yeah, something similar like that happened in our church with Pathfinders, where a lot of clubs now meet on Saturdays, like after morning church, because Sunday, like, is just for the youth. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely think that every institution of power has a responsibility to present certain values. And I wouldn't say that it's not being done. There's the Empower program going on now for the government, going to communities to talk to men. Different schools doing things. We hear on GC24, the MAD exists. Different things exist. And
Keys exist too.
People are trying. Like that's a fact. People are trying. But then there are people with greater power. That's when I'm talking about the Swanee and them. And yes, they have the freedom to be artists, but they also have the freedom to be honest. They have the responsibility to come back and be honest. Yeah.
I'm more itchy, man. Because to say that the powers that we want to talk about is not Prince Swanee. The powers that we're talking about is the people who pumping money into the activities that pull in these children or these young people in places that where we don't want them to go. Where my pocket can't reach. I would have a rehearsals on Saturday or Sunday. I would have a rehearsals during the course of the week. But nobody not coming no rehearsal to do no drama. And I could get a free ticket to go and jump up in a zest somewhere and drink free rum. And that's the argument there. It have people who are pumping our young people with poison for their profit. It have people who are building lavish. I don't even want to call Prince's name again. It have people who are building lavish lifestyles. Lavish lifestyles. Off of young people paying bail money. You're setting up people.
Yeah.
And then when we look at the crime rate now, the people who are being convicted is the bottom feeders, and nobody not pointing to the fingers and saying the people who are responsible for pumping this kind of nonsense, this kind of poison, this kind of thought pattern in our society. These are the people need to be accounted for. These are the people who need to be held accountable. Nobody not doing that. But we quick to hold 5, 6, 7 of them, put them, and then after transport them up and down and suck the ghetto dry. from your grandmother, gold, your deed, everything, and you now come back, relax in your beautiful mansion behind some gates.
So I'm seeing we will have to have another part of this discussion. So for the next 8 minutes that we have remaining in this one, tell me something. I mean, both of you are men of faith. And so in your discussion, we discover that people are pursuing happiness out of a dream that may or may not be elusive based on standards that have been set. There has been some neglect of responsibility by those of us who are elder and would have passed through that journey already, but we are not looking back to tell stories, to keep people on track and so on. And there are those who are set up people benefiting out of crime, right? And that's a tremendous and enormous task to treat with all of those scenarios that need to be remedied. But tell me something. Where do you see, or is there a place for faith in this whole scenario? Is there a place for prayer? Is there a place for spiritual awakening inside of this? Is there a space for it, or is this all political or social or emotional restoration that has to take place?
Well, the answer better be yes, because if there isn't
Go
a
and
place
help
for
us.
that, then that is it. Because at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to people's moral compass. If the persons at the helm doesn't have or don't have any inclination as to what is actually good, whether it be spiritually good and morally upright, then we are on a slippery slope that'll end in a graveyard for many. So there must be that. And because we live in a society now where everybody wants to be liberal, and even those at the helm who have or believe in the faith, who believe in Jesus, they always find themselves in an awkward position. Even something like praying at the start of an event could turn out into be a very awkward thing, and you're wondering who you're offending and this and that and the other. And calling out things by their rightful name could be a struggle, and you have to find ways to manage that. Even as an artist, you don't want to be cancelled, right? You don't just want to go burning out everybody, although you could, and you should have a right to. But rights don't work that way these days. Rights is work towards a certain people, and towards pleasing everybody. Rights are about pleasing everybody these days, and not having space to disagree. So there are those obvious challenges for any community-based group that is doing work. While under the veil of the church, it could preach according to the Bible and to the Word. But the church will only capture a certain number of people. When you're trying to capture people in the community, the approach just has to be different, and you have to find creative ways to tell stories. But at the base of it, at least for me, will always be that moral compass and that faith-based direction.
Right. I think just quickly, I think the answer is yes. I think we must recognize that the only way to really touch an empty soul is through Jesus Christ. We must recognize that. And giving people all these nice things and not the other, I think what need to happen is that we need to go back to our base and really believe what we say we believe. Really, really believe what we say we believe, and give them the truth and let them decide. It have empty people with a whole set of stuff in their house, but their lives are empty. And we are called to be salt. We are called to be light. And until we do that, I don't even look at the people at the help. I have a responsibility in my little corner to let my light shine and let my salt be spread. I have that responsibility. Until we start doing that, the change wouldn't happen.
Right. So I'm glad that without asking it directly, that you would have consented to stay on for us to do a part 2, since we are out of time. And I'm hoping that part of that discussion, we can speak to some activities that you all are engaged in and how those are helpful, and what are some other things that perhaps the responsible people, not those who are not being held accountable as you mentioned, but those of us who are seeing the challenge and the vacuum, what kind of role and responsibilities we can take up to treat with that vacuum as we relate to the situation of crime, and even more so perhaps our young people who are most affected by this. So thank you very much, Derron and Dillon, for being part of JC 24/7. So I'm Gideon St. Bryce, closing off this discussion on crime, but see you next week when we continue with our same two guests. This is JC 24/7 telling you that help can be had at 351-5030. That's 351-5030. If there is a sense of need, then dial that number. JC 24/7 will respond on the other end. Have a good day. Have a good life.
Marcus, I hear the Adventist camp meeting is on again.
You lie. Where? When? I'm not missing that. No way.
It's September 28th to October 1st, 2022. They're catering for both young and old, Marcus. Youth Pastor Earl Baldwin, along with Senior Speaker Nakado Dillon will be there.
But the last Adventist camp meeting was real informative. I'm not missing this big event.
Marcus, before you go, save the date. The 28th of September to October 1st, 2022. The Adventist camp meeting. Don't miss it.